After having 3 children and gaining almost 130 pounds between my 3 pregnancies, getting back to my pre-baby size has been no small feat. As with many of us that want to feel like ourselves again in our own bodies, we soon discover that as we age, shedding pounds gets harder and harder. But fear not, my friend. Today I am sharing my success story as proof that where there's a will, there's a way, and that there are tools that can help you reach your weight goals in a healthy way without being miserable along the way. Quick disclaimer, I am not a doctor or a nutritionist. What I share is my own experience. It is meant as a suggestion, not as professional medical advice. Please do consult a healthcare professional before making any significant changes to your diet, especially if you have any health conditions or concerns. Intermittent fasting has helped me after losing the pregnancy weight. By 2019, I had already successfully reached my pre-baby weight by eating mindfully, exercising every single day when I could, 1 hour a day, and nursing. So let's give some credit to our amazing bodies that nurture our little ones. My intermittent fasting journey started about 1.5 years after my last daughter was born because I started to gain weight again. It is an important detail because at that point I was not nursing anymore. I was back to my pre-baby weight and I was content for a short period of time. Then slowly the pounds started creeping back up, 1 to 2 pounds a month, and to me it seemed like I had no control over it. It could also be that around that time I went back to work from being a stay-at-home mom and my lifestyle had changed. I was no longer chasing around a toddler, going for walks and to the playground, but I was sitting in a car commuting. I was then sitting at a desk for 8 hours, back to commuting, and well, there was not much left of the day. Looking back now, it made sense that I started gaining weight. Now, as my own doctor explained to me, if we do the same amount of exercise and eat the same amount of food, meaning we make no changes, our bodies will gain on average 3 pounds a year. Which tells me that if I don't want to continue gaining weight year after year, I have to either lower my caloric intake or exercise more than the year before. Now, I don't know about you, but I did not want to accept that I was gaining weight year after year. So this is when I decided to do something about it again. By then, here's what worked for me: daily 1-hour walks and reducing my portion size of eating. Now, we each have our own lifestyle and challenges around the schedule, especially as working parents, so we need to find ways to incorporate exercise and a mindful diet custom to our own needs. In 2019, intermittent fasting was gaining popularity, and after hearing about it for about 2 years, I too wanted to try it. I just didn't know where to start, but I was desperate for change and I decided to give it a try. Now, side note, for this reason, I thought about what would bring value to you. What is the first thing that I can do to help you on this journey? So I put together a step-by-step guide to kickstart your intermittent fasting journey. I'm sharing exactly how I train my body to go from eating at all time of the day to 16-8 method, where you eat during an 8-hour window and fast for 16. It's not as bad as you might think. I also included meal samples of what I actually eat. It is free to you. Go to womenofhighvalue.com/if to download your copy. I also linked it below in the description box. Now back to my story, I've lost a total of 17 pounds since then. I now weigh less than on my wedding day, but my journey is not over, as I noticed what happens when I'm not consistent. Weight does come back. Now 17 pounds is not an astronomical weight, but if you ever tried losing weight when you have such a low body mass index, meaning you are at your last 10 or 5 pounds, it is the absolute hardest. So at my weight, I'm 5'5", went from 136 to 119. It was quite challenging. The first 5 pounds went off like a breeze, and when I reached into the 120s, it became slower and slower. It took almost a year to get down to 119, 2019, I remember exactly because it was the summer of 2020 where everyone was gaining weight during the lockdown and I was losing it. How? By doing circles around my house for 30 minutes and fasting every day. It was much easier back then when I had full control over my schedule. But wait, there's more. There is relapse. So let's talk about that. Now, did I fail at it as well? Of course. The trick that got me was to think that I can fast for 5 days while at work and then skip on the weekend. That is not very good for our bodies. Again, plenty of resources from qualified people out there, but from what I noticed, for every 1 day I skipped fasting or went over my 4 p.m. dinner time, it would take me 3 days of fasting to get back on track on the scale. Fast forward a year, back to work in an office environment, eating out a lot. I thought I was fasting, but I kept making excuses, eating past my normal 4 p.m. dinner time, eating really fatty foods as most restaurants have them, not exercising every day. But the biggest deception was to myself. I was still labeling myself as a faster, but in reality, I wasn't. And I didn't even pay attention to catch it in time. I stopped weighing myself and the clothes were getting snug. I went back to avoiding tight clothes and making excuses that I was bloated, which is true. I am lactose intolerant, so a lot of foods affect me, but still, I let it get in the way of my discipline. So to no surprise, I went back up to 133 pounds because I wasn't consistent and I gave up. Put my head in the sand and moved on. So don't beat yourself up if this happens to you as well. We all go through it at some point. Now, once in a while, a big change happens, such as relocating or changing jobs, increasing commute, your lifestyle shifts. But it gives us more perspective if we pay attention. Every chance is an opportunity to make a positive impact if we choose so. I changed jobs and it was the start of my own personal development. I also created the Chicquette channel and all of a sudden I was filming myself in clothes. I couldn't avoid it and it was a huge wake-up call because I did not look like the influencers we're used to seeing. I even avoided try-ons for this reason. A bit vain, I know, but it made me want to be better. I knew I had fallen off the fasting wagon and I wanted back on. Now, first month was great. I stopped gaining, which was nice, but I was determined to lose pounds and fast. So here's where I noticed the plateau effect. After a while, my body got used to it and I stopped losing weight. This is common even when exercising and building muscles, when the trainer recommends switching it up, doing different exercises. Now, some celebrities change personal trainers for this reason, to follow different routines and get their bodies to react again. If you do the same thing and you stop seeing results, this is where you need to change something. For me, this meant being consistent 7 days a week and mindful eating during the weekend, which were my cheat days. No extra fatty foods. I know that the cheat days were actually setting back my entire work from during the week. But part of the different levels of plateaus is to pay attention to your body because intuitively, your body knows what it needs to feel nourished, especially as we go through our inner cycles and feed it what it needs through each phase. Now, we also need to be honest with ourselves, spend some time reflecting on what works for us, what sacrifices we're willing to make, and start taking action. For me, it's cake all day, every day. I don't care about ice cream or chocolate, which makes me break out, but soft, creamy cakes like Napoleon custard are my weakness. You would be surprised to see how far we're willing to go, especially when we're restricting our diet during the week, to treat ourselves. Sugar is not a treat, but that's a different conversation for another time. When holidays came, I failed again, thinking I deserved to bypass the intermittent fasting. I've gone on trips abroad, cruise ships, where it's all you can eat buffets, and I have failed each time, coming back with about 5 pounds gained. It was not fun. I was miserable and regretted it right away. Again, the clothes you wear are your best measuring guideline, and you can tell by how comfortable they fit. I felt powerless because I was not in control of my body, what I ate, the amount of exercise I did, and I felt quite weak against temptations. I thought I was like a cheap date, wave a nice restaurant in front of my nose, and I would not hold back from a feast at any time of the day. What hurt the most was that I knew I'd overcome this before and I let go. I didn't put myself first anymore. So I went on like this for about 2 years up until this year. Again, a big shift, changed workplaces again, and this time I decided to take back control because you see, the current place where I work, they cater food every day, 3 meals a day, which is great. I have a lot of healthy choices every day. But what happens when you have unlimited food and snacks and drinks at your disposal? You need a lot of restraint. And I knew if I wanted to be successful on this journey and true to myself, I had to stop making excuses and be deliberate in every choice I make, from what I put in my mouth to the activities I do every day. We have to own our choices. Now, among the changes for this year, I decided to start really focusing on fasting 7 days a week to show consistent results and be able to share it with you. I've gone on a 2-week road trip this summer, and I'm so proud to say that I came back the same weight after years of gaining. But that's a different story I will tell in another video. Intermittent fasting is a lifestyle, not a diet. We each have our own goals, and I know how frustrating it can feel when you tried everything out there. Once I was successfully fasting during the 16-hour window, the pounds started to shed. In the beginning, I would say 1 pound a week. The results will vary, of course, to each of us because there are just so many factors involved, but it is quite addictive to see the scale change. Now, I do want to mention a very important detail. The scale can be deceiving. Again, I monitor very closely while I eat and how much I weigh the next day, and there were times it didn't make sense, but this is where a lag time comes into play. It takes our bodies days to digest and expel food, so overall, you want to see slow progress. It is just that, slow, consistent progress. Till today, I weigh myself daily as I'm a big supporter of IF and eating mindfully. There's nothing like the feeling of trying on clothes and fitting comfortably without squeezing yourself in. Now, along the way, I've also learned to pay attention to my weaknesses, get my family on board, and stick to the plan as much as possible. Because when you start seeing results, you will tune everyone else out. And yes, to them, it's another diet. They will tempt you every day even, and you have to distance yourself. You do you, you are on your own journey, and that's enough. Of course, I'm here for you. Hopefully, we can encourage each other if you're already on this journey. Do share in the comments below what your experience has been like. In the plan that I described to you in the guide, I condensed all my experience as I went through it the hard way, so you don't have to. Yes, there are a lot of resources out there on this topic, and you should definitely do your own research. But what I found lacking is how to start, how to train your body to get used to a 16-hour fasting window. So hopefully it will help you as well. This has been my journey back to pre-baby size. I really do hope you found it useful. I want this to be a message of encouragement. Know that you are not alone. We all face postpartum weight gain in some form. And we also need to talk about gaining weight in our more mature years. It's normal. We need to celebrate our bodies and be kind to ourselves. There are many women who have successfully overcome weight gain, and so can you. I believe in you. Next, I'm going to share the impact intermittent fasting has had on my wardrobe, of course, if you need inspiration to create and maintain a timeless quality collection. I will see you there next.